بسم الله الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. Okay, so inshallah, this is our third session on the description of prayer, which is Sifatul Salah, and we should finish today inshallah. So no interruptions. I have to, I have 15 minutes. I'm just gonna go fast, and inshallah try to finish today, so that we could move on and get into the chapter of Arkan al-Salah wa wajibatiha, which is Babu Arkan al-Salah wa wajibatiha, the pillars and the mandatory actions of the prayer, which should be inshallah next week. So Imam ibn Qudamah rahimahullah said, and we finished all the way to Sujud, right? And we quickly said that he will stand and then he will raise his hands up to his shoulders, and his fingers will be together, and his hands will be facing the Qibla, and they will not be flexed, they will be extended and together and facing the Qibla and up to the elbows, and he will do this while he's saying Allahu Akbar, and then he will put his right hand on the left hand below the navel. And I'm just not doing any positions here. This is just a Hanbali position. And put the right on the left below the navel, and then he will recite. And we said that the first rak'ah he does dua al-istiftah, which is the opening supplication, which is the dua subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik tabarak ismuka ta'ala jadduk, and then he will do a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Fatiha, another surah, and then he will go down to bow while raising his hands. And we said in the Hanbali madhab he raises his hands in three places. The first, takbiratul ihram, that's consensus, and then with bowing and rising from ruku'. That's the authorized position of the Hanbali madhab. There is no more raising of the hands throughout the prayer. So the one that is by consensus, which is with the first takbirah, and the one that is, and two more, which is bowing and rising from bowing. And then he will say Allahu Akbar, and then he will bow, and he will try to straighten his back as much as he can, and then he makes his head level with his back, so it's level with the back. Everything is straight line, and then he says Subhana Rabbi, and then he holds his knees with his hands, and this is the only time in the madhab where the hands are spread out. The only time in the Hanbali madhab where the hands are spread out is in ruku'. The fingers are spread out is in ruku'. He's holding his knees with his spread out fingers. The rest, all the time, they are together. The toes will be spread out in Sujud, and also when he's doing this. So then he's made ruku'. He said Subhana Rabbi al-Azim 3 times. That is basically the entry level of perfection, and then and that's for the Imam. For the Imam, 10 is the highest level of perfection, because he shouldn't go beyond this, so that he does not cause resentment. So between 3 to 10 tasbihat, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, is basically the scope of perfection for the Imam. For the Ma'mum, you could do as much as you want. But that is in all prayers, all Jama'ah prayers, except Kusuf, because Kusuf is a special prayer that is usually very long. And so when we're talking about numbers, and we're talking about duration, everything except for Kusuf. And then he would rise from ruku', and when he rose from ruku', he also made takbir. He's making takbir with every movement, and he's also raising his hands, as we said, it's 3 times in the madhab, and it's up to the shoulders, and then afterwards he puts them down next to him. That is the chosen position, even though Imam Ahmad clearly stated that he may do this. He may put them under the navel or put them next to his body, but because the 3 other Imams chose putting them next to him, then whatever is in agreement with the 3 other Imams is usually preferred to bring unity and harmony and so on. So he did this and go down, and then he will go down, and after he says, he will say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd. If he's the ma'mum, he's only saying Rabbana lakal hamd. If he's the imam, he's saying Rabbana lakal hamd, hamdan kathiran, طيبا مبارك فيه. ربنا لك الحمد ملء السماوات ربنا لك الحمد ملء السماوات وملء الأرض وملء ما شئت من شيء بعد. This is what chosen by the Hanbalis. Although Imam Ahmad chose ربنا لك الحمد ملء السماء, not السماوات. Then he is going down to prostration, and there is no raising of the hands here with prostration. And then when he goes down to prostration, we said that in the madhab, and this also the Hanafi madhab, he is going down with his knees first. There are a lot of similarities between the Hanafis and Hanbalis when it comes to the Salah. This the position, they agree on this position. So if you see someone doing this, he's either Hanafi or Hanbali. This will be Shafi'i. This will be Maliki, although we did talk about this issue, But if you see someone doing this under the name, at least either Hanafi or Hanbali. Shafi'i, Maliki, but they disagree among them. Okay, so and then so the Hanafis and Hanbalis also, they go down with their, and the Shafi'is as well here, they go down with their knees first, and then when they go down with their knees, then knees will come meet the ground first, then hands, then the forehead, and you make sure that the anf, the nose, is part of the forehead, so you're touching with everything. We also said Subhana Rabbiyal A'la is like Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. It is 3 to 10. That's perfection. From scope of perfection is 3 to 10. 1 is sufficient. And we said that when he is making sujood in the madhab, his feet are apart, and that's also in the Shafi'i madhab. And he said that the Hanafis and Malikis did not comment on this. His feet are apart and his toes are facing the Qibla. While he is making sujood. That does not mean that if he makes sujood on the dorsums of his feet that this would not be acceptable. It is acceptable as long as it's on your feet, but the sunnah is to make it on the toes, the tips of the toes, and they are facing the Qibla. Your hands are also together, fingers are together, and they're facing the Qibla, they're next to your shoulders. The one thing that we did not mention last time, it's not in the book, but it may be helpful, is that if you're wearing gloves, take them off. If you're wearing a cap, push it up like this, not because it is mandatory, or if you're wearing a imamah, push it up like this. That's why you find many of the older righteous mashayikh, their imamah usually shows a little bit of the forelock. Because they're always ready to pray, and so their imamah is always like this, versus this, because they're always ready to pray, so some of the forelock is showing. Not because it is mandatory in the Hanbali madhab. In the Hanbali madhab, you do not need to touch the ground with your bare hands or bare forehead. But because the Shafi'is require this, only the Shafi'is require this, خروجا من الخلاف. It's called خروج من الخلاف. If you want some more wara, then here is some more wara. If you want to ascend, there is مقاطع الأحكام and مدارج الورع. Basically, stairway of wara. Stairway of wara is enormous. So you want to take a step on the stairway of wara and make sure that you're doing it right according to everyone. Then take off your gloves, push your turban up a little bit. Because whatever is connected to you, they don't disagree on the feet and the knees. Feet and the knees can be covered for sure by consensus. The only disagreement is on the forehead and the hands. The majority said they could be covered, and they reported the hadith from Anas where they used to, fail to put their forehead all the way on the ground because of the extreme heat, so they would push part of their thawb on the ground and prostrate on their thawb. It's connected to them. It's still not a carpet or a rug. It's connected to them, and that's the disagreement. They're not saying that you have to touch the soil. If there is carpet, also the Shafi'is would say just touch the carpet, but it should not be connected to your body. It should not be on your body. It should not be like gloves or a turban or something like this. So the majority said hands and forehead, they can be covered. Hands and forehead can be covered. The Shafi'i said they also need to be bare and touch the ground and have nothing on them.
Does that apply to the sisters? Shafi'is?
I didn't particularly. I think it would apply, but I would go back and look at this. But I didn't read in the Shafi'i madhab a distinction here between the sisters and the brothers. Yeah. Then he said, ثم يرفع رأسه مكبرا ويجلس مفترشا. We're done with the sujud. We're going now to sit up, but just keep in mind, the Hanbalis are not requiring this. Hanafis are not requiring this. Malikis are not requiring this. I said try to do it so that, it's like a little bit of wara. You could enjoy, because we seldom do any wara. So you could enjoy a little bit of wara sometimes. It would be a good thing. ثم يرفع رأسه مكبرا ويجلس مفترشا فيفرش رجله اليسرى ويجلس عليها وينصب اليمنى ويثني أصابعه نحو القبلة ويقول رب اغفر لي ثلاثا ثم يسجد السجدة الثانية كالأولى ثم يرفع رأسه مكبرا. Then he should raise his head while making takbir. ثم يرفع رأسه مكبرا. Okay, so you're in sujud, you say Allahu Akbar and raise your head. ويجلس مفترشا, and he should sit down in iftirash. Iftirash. Okay, and then he will describe what iftirash is, and this was reported by many, many companions, Abu Humayd, Aisha, many companions reported this. So he will describe what iftirash is, and this iftirash is prescribed throughout the prayer. Every time you're sitting in the prayer, this iftirash is prescribed, except in the last rak'ah, that is fourth or third, not the second in Salat al-Subh, like the Shafi'is here in the Hanbali madhab. Has to be a prayer with two julus, two tashahhuds, and in the last one of the two tashahhuds, you will do this tawarruk. But aside from the last one of the two tashahhuds where you do tawarruk, iftirash will be prescribed throughout the prayer. That does not mean that it is required. If you can't do it, you don't have to do it. If you sit down cross-legged, is it called cross-legged? Mutarabbi'an? No. Huh? Okay.
Cross-legged Indian style.
Yeah. That would still be acceptable. Everybody knows what I'm talking about? Okay. So, yeah. How do you draw this? Salahuddin. Yeah? No, it's good. But anyway, so it brings us like this. Okay, everybody knows. So he's sitting like this. So he's sitting on his left foot. He's sitting on his left foot. And to lay the left foot on its side and sit on it while making the right foot flexed. Flexed, like this. That's flexed. Extended would be like this, flexed would be like this. So it is, it's like this. If this is his leg, this is his foot. You now see why I asked Salahuddin to come up here. But anyway, that's his foot. Toes. Okay. Huh? So yeah, so wearing socks, that's easier. Okay, sit and on it while making the right foot flexed and bending its toes, making their tips face the Qibla. Making their tips face the Qibla. And that requires flexibility, and it requires people, who have this flexibility in their joints. But this was reported authentically by Nasa'i from Abdullah ibn Umar. The Prophet ﷺ would make that it's part of the sunnah to make your toes face the Qibla. ويثني أصابعها نحو القبلة ويقول رب اغفر لي ثلاثا, and then he says, my Lord, forgive me 3 times. And this was reported by Abu Dawood from Hudhayfa, but he did not say 3 times necessarily. He said that the Prophet used to say Rabb ighfir li, Rabb ighfir li. Some people understood that this means twice, but he was saying that he would repeat it. Rabb ighfir li, an indication of repetition. And some reports also mentioned 3 times, but I'm not sure about their authenticity. ويقول رب اغفر لي, and then he will say رب اغفر لي, my Lord, forgive me 3 times, and then he prostrates a second time like the first, and then he prostrates a second time like the first. It is reported also from Abi Humayda and from others that the Prophet ﷺ used to spend as much time in this particular movement or this particular position as he did in Sujud. So, take your time and say Rabbi ighfir li, Rabbi ighfir li, Rabbi ighfir li, Rabbi ighfir li, warhamni, wahdini wa'afini warzuqni. And if you want to combine, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah said that the Prophet ﷺ used to make 7 du'as, and he combined them all in Rabbi ighfir li, warhamni, wajburni, warfa'ni, wahdini, wa'afini, warzuqni. Rabbi ighfir li, forgive me, warhamni, warhamni, show mercy on me. Wahdini, wajburni. Ijburni means what? Ijburni, amend me, fix my wounds or fix my fractures. Jabr. Warfa'ni, and raise me, elevate me. Wahdini wa'afini warzuqni, guide me. Afini, give me afiyah, which is basically security, safety from all harm. Warzuqni, and provide for me. So make this dua. In fact, this is, a man came and asked the Prophet ﷺ when the Prophet taught him to say al-Fatiha, and he said, this is for my Lord, what is in it for me? And he taught him, say this, and then he taught him this dua. So, Rabbi ighfir li, warhamni, wajburni, warfa'ni, wahdini, wa'afini, warzuqni. And this particular tertib is the tertib of Imam Nawawi. So he brought them from different hadith, all authentic, into this tertib, 7. But beautiful du'as. Ighfir li, if you just one time get, listen to, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen to in the sense of, being accepted, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds with acceptance to your dua. You get maghfirah, mercy and forgiveness, maghfirah and rahmah, you get healed, amended, your breaks will be fixed, you get elevated, you get provided for, you get guided, and you get afiyah, safety from all harm. And then you prostrate a second time like the first time. The same etiquettes of prostration will apply here as well. ثم يرفع رأسه مكبرا وينهض قائما فيصلي الثانية كالأولى. Then he should raise his head while saying takbir and stand up to pray the second rak'ah, the second one or second rak'ah like the first. So basically he described one unit, one rak'ah, and then you just repeat them. فإذا فرغ منهما جلس للتشهد مفترشا ويضع يده اليسرى على فخذه اليسرى. And if he is done with the 2 rak'ahs, he should sit down in iftirash for the tashahhud. This is iftirash, because he's talking here about the first tashahhud, not the second tashahhud. This is the second tashahhud. This is the first tashahhud. So if he's done with the 2 rak'ahs, he sits down like this. But then, in addition to sitting like this, now that he will be saying Tashahhud, he will describe the position of the finger here. He should put his left hand on the left thigh and his right hand on the right thigh. With the right hand, he should fold down the little finger and the ring finger. He's folding, fold, little and ring fingers, and make a circle with the middle finger and the thumb. Circle with the middle finger and the thumb. That's a circle. And point with the index finger, as Muslim reported from Zubayr radiallahu anhu. Point with the index finger like this. Several times during the tashahhud. So when you point several times, it means that you will put it down. And then you point. And then you'll put it down. This does not mean that you move your finger. In the madhab, you're not moving your finger. In the madhab, you're doing it several times. Every time you mention Allah. You mention Allah. And then, so basically, التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. Okay, so you're every time you're mentioning Allah. Where did this come from? Mainly reasoning, because the ahadith, some ahadith talk about moving and some ahadith do not talk about moving. The preponderance of reports do not talk about moving. So the single report that talks about moving, will you accept it as an addition of a trustworthy narrator or reject it because this narrator disagreed with so many more narrators that reported from the same teacher and did not report the moving? It is controversial and expectedly controversial, expectedly will result in people disagreeing over this. But what are the positions of the madhahib in this regard? The Shafi'i said that you are, the Shafi'is, where should we start from? Start from the Hanafis. Start from the Hanafis. The Hanafis, they're doing the least, and I like their position because it does not cause a lot of distraction. In all honesty, I tried to be faithful to the Hanbali position as much as I could, because there is no tarjih here. There's nothing from the Prophet to tell us which way is best, in all honesty. So therefore, it is basically you just follow your madhab until you find. So I tried to move it every time I say Allah, and it just becomes like I'm trying to, and it becomes a distraction. But the Hanafi position is that you move it only once when you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. When you say, make the Shahada, you're pointing once with your finger when you say the Shahada. And it gives you a lot of peace of mind. It's just like you don't have to worry about when, because the Hanbali position requires most of the mental effort. Because basically you say At-Tahiyyatu Lillah, and then you wait for every lafz al-Jalala, and then you point with your finger. So what the Shafi'is said, because the hadith talks about pointing, and some hadith talk about moving, and some don't talk about moving. That's it. That's all we have. So we have to figure out by reasoning. So the Hanafis figured, you move it when you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. The Hanbalis said you move it every time you mention Allah. Reasonable. Both positions are reasonable. The Shafi'i said you will point with it once you get to Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah and keep it up until you finish. You raise it, point, once you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, keep it up until you finish. That also does not require a lot of thought. The Malikis also, it is not, mentally, demanding. The Malikis move it all the time. The Malikis and, many contemporary scholars, they scholars of hadith and so on, they're just moving it all the time. They keep on moving the finger all the time. Is it clear? And in all honesty, there is no definitive proof here. So whether you take the Hanafi, whatever you want to take, the position that makes you most comfortable in your prayer and afterwards, unless it's clarification. You want clarification?
Yeah.
Disambiguation?
Yeah.
Okay, disambiguation is okay.
I was, I mean, I saw a hadith, I don't know if it's weak or whatnot, reported by Imam Ahmed that they said that it was
Heavier on the shaitan than the iron hammer. Yeah. If it is controversial, but if it is authentic, it still does not mean that you're doing this, because the shaitan is really. You could be pointing and it could still be heavier on the shaitan than an iron hammer without moving. Yeah, because it is not. Yeah. Anyway. So then he says, we're done with this, okay? Everybody? You're good? Okay. وَيَقُولُ التَّحِيَّاتُ لِلَّهِ, and then he will basically teach us التحيات. This is reported by Bukhari and Muslim from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the best. There are variant forms, they're all reported from the Prophet ﷺ, but Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was telling us how he sat, next in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he had his hands in his hands, and he taught him this as he would teach him a surah from the Quran. So the Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's report is the best report, the chosen report. Because it's reported by Bukhari and Muslim from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who learned it directly from the Prophet ﷺ in this sort of hamimi environment. ويقول التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فهذا أصح ما روي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في التشهد. He should say, I don't need to repeat it in Arabic, but the translation of this is all reverence, prayers, and good things or good sayings or good actions are due to Allah, peace be upon you, O Prophet, and the mercy of Allah and His blessings, peace be upon us and the righteous servants of Allah. And Allah says, the Prophet said, when you say this, it will reach every righteous servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the heavens and the earth. I testify that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. This is the most authentic report from the Prophet concerning the Tashahhud. Okay. Then, keep in mind, this is all the Tashahhud. The Salah al-Ibrahimiyya is not part of the Tashahhud. Completely separate. These are two completely separate things. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. This is not part of the Tashahhud. That is why this part is not, it is not a pillar in the Hanbali madhab. It is mandatory, and in the rest of the madhab, it is not even mandatory. Salah al-Ibrahimiyya, it is only recommended in the three other madhab, according to the three other Imams. Only the Hanbalis require Salah al-Ibrahimiyya in as-Salah, in the second Tashahhud in as-Salah. Only the Hanbalis require this. It is not mandatory according to the other Imams, but it is, recommended and emphasized. But this is not part of a Tashahhud. Then, and this would mean, O Allah, shower your mercy on Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the kinsfolk of Muhammad, as you showered your mercy on Ibrahim and the kinsfolk of Ibrahim. I should actually go back and retranslate this into the people of Muhammad, because it will be more obvious. Because in the Hanbali madhab, al is not the family. Al is his ummah. Certainly his family would be most deserving of the title, but it is not limited to his family. So it's like when we say al-ashara al-mubashsharun, when we say al-sahaba does not refer to al-ashara al-mubashsharun. Al-sahaba refers to everybody, to all the sahaba. But the ashara al-mubashsharun are most deserving of the title. Al-Bayt, Al-Muhammad are not only Al-Bayt, but there are the Ummah of Muhammad, all the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. According to the Hanbali madhab, of the Prophet, the family of the Prophet are most deserving of this title. And certainly that is the family that was Muslim, the family that accepted Islam. But kinsfolk, can it also mean his ummah? No, never. Kinsfolk would be very clear on being the family, relatives. Okay. The kinsfolk, okay, so here, the people of Muhammad would be a good translation? If al includes all of the ummah. So we say the people of Muhammad would be a good translation? His followers is not al, Anyway, think about it. Okay, so Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Forget about kinsfolk and everything. It's al. But this is what it means in the Hanbali method. Next, ويستحب أن يتعوذ من عذاب القبر ومن عذاب جهنم ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال. Everybody knows this, dua, supplication. Okay. It's reported from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. It is recommended to seek refuge with Allah from the torment of the grave, the torment of the hellfire, the tribulations of life and death, and the tribulations of the false Messiah. ثم يسلم عن يمينه السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وعن يساره كذلك. Then he makes taslim while looking to the right and then doing the same to the left. ثم يسلم عن يمينه السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Keep in mind that in the authorized position in the Hanbali madhab, Assalamu alaikum would not do. So you have to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And it is recommended that you don't do wa barakatuh. You could still do wa barakatuh, but it's recommended that you don't because most of the narrations do not have wa barakatuh. It's just Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And then he would turn his face until the white of his face was seen from like this, not just the beard. This was seen by the people behind them. And then we would say it to the left until both the right cheek and the left cheek were seen. So when he did it to the left, it was worse. It was more than the right. So to the right and to the left. But to the left, I have issues with my neck, but some of you may be able to do, no, what is this? The people behind you didn't see anything. They just saw your. Anyway, some people will do it better. So you're doing it all the way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And then all the way and a little bit more here. Some people who are flexible can do this. But then, many people think that it's only the Maliki madhab that says the first taslim allowed. The Hanbali madhab, to agree with everybody else, they also started to say the second taslim allowed. But in the Hanbali madhab also, traditionally, Hanbali madhab, it is like the Maliki madhab in the sense that the second taslim is much lower than the first taslim, so that many people in the back may not hear it. Maybe the people in the first row will hear it, but many people in the back will not hear it. So it's Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay. The Maliki is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And the Hanafis and Shafi'is, they say them both aloud. But the issue here is that this is the only one that tells people that prayer is over. This is not required to begin with. So this is radd ala this. This is to answer this. But it is not required to end your prayer. Your prayer ends with this. So if you break your wudu after you said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah once, your prayer is done. You don't need to repeat anything. Okay, so, but before he made taslim to the right and the left, he made that he said, أعوذ بالله اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب جهنم وعذاب القبر وفتنة المحيا والممات وفتنة المسيح الدجال. And then the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn Mas'ud said ثم ليتخير من الدعاء ما يشاء ثم ليتخير من الدعاء أعجبه إليه ثم ليدعو بما شاء. So many hadith that says then he should select of the dua whatever he pleases. He should choose the dua that he should make the dua as much dua as he wants. So this is another position where the Prophet particularly emphasized dua. Sujud is one. أقرب ما يكون العبد من ربه وهو ساجد فأكثر الدعاء. The closest person becomes to his Lord is when he is sajid. So make abundant dua. أكثر منه. The second time where you make a lot of dua in the prayer is before taslim. After you say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhabi jahannam and to the end of the hadith, and then before taslim, and then you make dua as much as you want. What kind of dua can you make in the prayer? What kind of dua can you make in your prayer, and can you translate it? Okay, H for Hanafi, M for Maliki, S for Shafi'i. And because I'm teaching Hanbali here, so I'll put it separate so that you don't get things confused, because this book is a Hanbali book. So what do the Hanbalis say about this? Hanbali said that you can only make, Imam Ahmad was asked about this, should we make any dua? And he said, يَدْعُو بِمَا يُعْرَفْ وَبِمَا هُوَ مَأْثُورٌ. He should make dua that is known and transmitted. Known to be good and transmitted. Probably some people would aggravate Imam Ahmad and they make like lengthy, excessive dua in qunut and this and that. So he was just trying to say, keep it to that which is known and transmitted. That is the position of Imam Ahmad, that's Hanbali position. This is the same as the Hanafi position. Hanafis, they disagree among themselves, but their position is pretty similar to the Hanbali position, or Hanbali position is very similar to theirs. But the Hanafis some of them go as far as saying he should only make the dua that's in the Quran. So that they limit it very much. But according to, some of them say the Quran, and then some add Sunnah, and some add aqwal of the Salaf or the du'as of the righteous predecessors. The authorized position of the two madhabs here, Hanafi and Hanbali, the first and the last, is you make only the dua that has been transmitted from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from the righteous predecessors. The Shafi'is said that you could make dua that is, or Shafi'is and Malikis here, said that you could make dua that is about the dunya. Like dua for you in the dunya. Keep in mind, they did not say that Hanafis and Hanbalis did not say that you cannot make dua about the dunya, but dua about the dunya that is transmitted. So, رَبَّنَا أَتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا. Dua about the dunya or not? Yes. Can you make it according to the Hanafis and Hanbalis? Absolutely. It's dua in the Quran. So you could make it. But the Malikis and Shafi'is would allow basically just dua, period. You could make dua. As long as it is not excessive and it is not unbefitting of the salah where, I want to like a car. but not just a car. You know, I want like a particular car, particular model.
Car with silver trim.
Silver trim. Okay, so that's dua. Now, can you translate it? Can you translate it? And here, and it's not like picking and choosing. And I told you, talfiq, which is mixing and patchwork between the madhahib, is, I believe that it is permissible. Within the four madhahib, it is permissible, unless you know for sure that something is, Allah did not want this. It's clear to you that it's different. Certainly, talfiq, you know, istafti qalbak, ask your heart. And if your heart tells you that this is not what Allah and His Messenger said or wanted, then absolutely not. But if you don't have clarity, then talfiq is okay. So Imam Malik would be the best madhab here when it comes to translation. He would allow translation for someone who does not speak Arabic all the time. You know, make any dua in any language inside the salah. We're not talking about outside the salah here. Dua outside the salah, whatever dua you want, without excessiveness, you know, without being impolite in your dua. Whatever dua you want, in whichever language you speak, by consensus, is okay. Is that clear? That's outside the salah. Inside the salah is where all this disagreement, you know, belongs. Inside the salah. Why am I saying that the Maliki madhab is nicest? Because they allowed any translation. The Shafi'is and Hanbalis allow translation of al-ma'thur only. Ma'thur only. But the authorized position in the Hanbali madhab, and that, you know, authorized position in the Hanbali madhab, no translation whatsoever. They forbade any translation. Because they said you need to translate things that are required for your prayer, such as at-tasbih al-wajib, at-takbir, you know, things that are required for your, and if you can't say them in Arabic, you translate them in the Hanbali madhab. But dua is not required. Finish your prayer and make as much dua as you want. After you're done with the prayer, raise your hands, make as much dua as you want. And so the Hanbalis forbid it. The Hanafis say it is makruh to make dua in any language other than Arabic. Makruh. So forbidden to the authorized position of the Hanbalis, makruh to the Hanafis. Shafi'is permitted it only, permitted translation of the transmitted du'as. And one report in the Hanbali madhab agreed with the Shafi'is. Malikis allowed any dua in any language inside the prayer for the person who does not speak Arabic, who does not master Arabic. Is that clear? And I'm not saying that the Maliki madhab is better just out of, like, you know, arbitrary judgment. Because the Prophet said, وَلْيَتَخَيَّرْ مِنَ الدُّعَاء مَا يَشَاءُ, or يَتَخَيَّرْ مِنَ الدُّعَاء أَعْجَبَهُ إِلَيْهِ, etc. Let him choose of the dua whatever he prefers. Let him choose of the dua whatever he likes the most. أَعْجَبَهُ إِلَيْهِ, he likes the most. And the Prophet did not really put any limitations on the dua that the person makes in the salah. So, if you want to remember the Hanbali position, they allow you to make the known and transmitted dua only, and they do not allow you to translate anything in the authorized position. If you want to remember like a nice position from Imam Malik here, any dua in any language is okay, as long as it's not excessive. Just, disambiguation? Okay.
Is there a difference between, I missed the difference between the Maliki and the Shafi'i in this issue?
In translation, the Shafi'is would allow you only to translate transmitted dua. They would not allow you to freestyle.
You can freestyle in Arabic for dunya. Freestyle in Arabic for dunya, allowed.
Freestyle in Arabic, in dunya, according to the Shafi'is, allowed. Without excessiveness.
Of course.
Yeah, you know, excessiveness is not, you know, so to sit down and describe what you want and like annoying detail. Okay, so, but when it comes to translation, the Shafi'is would only allow you to translate in ma'thur The Malikis will allow you to translate anything you want to make dua. The Hanafis will say it is makruh to translate, but they will not go as far as the Hanbalis who said it's haram. Okay. Then وإن كانت الصلاة أكثر من ركعتين نهض بعد التشهد الأول. So we said he will make taslim because we presumed that the salah is 2 rak'ahs only and he made taslim already. He's saying if it is not 2 rak'ahs only, then he will stand up after the second rak'ah and after the first tashahhud. وإن كانت الصلاة أكثر من ركعتين نهض بعد التشهد الأول كنهوضه من السجود ثم يصلي ركعتين لا يقرأ فيهما بعد الفاتحة شيئا. Okay. وإذا كانت الصلاة أكثر من ركعتين نهض بعد التشهد الأول. If the prayer is more than 2 rak'ahs, he should stand up after the first tashahhud. كنهوضه من السجود, as he did when he stood up from prostration. So it is meaning what? Meaning that, as Wa'il ibn Hujr said, that when the Prophet ﷺ stood up from prostration, he lifted his hands off the ground first, and then he basically lifted the thighs thereafter. And if you want to sprint? Yes, yeah. Is there a better word? Yeah, if you want this more support, you don't do this. You don't basically push yourself up like this from the ground, but like this. And I trained myself to do it. I can do it. Most of the stuff I can't do, but this one I actually could do. Yes. Okay? Ash-Shaykh al-Kabir, the old man and the sick person and stuff, because the Prophet ﷺ himself, when he became older, he started to support himself on the ground, like to push himself off of the ground. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he became older, he would do this. That's when he became older. Okay? So pushing off of the ground like this. But if you can do this, you're lifting your hands off first, and then your hands will be on your thighs like this, and then you rise. You're using your thigh muscles, your quads and your hamstrings. You're using them to push yourself up, not your arms. Okay, so this is why he says like when he stood up for the first time. If you're not good at it, don't try it and then fall down and then break something and then come back next Saturday. Okay. كنهوضه من السجود ثم يصلي ركعتين لا يقرأ فيهما بعد الفاتحة شيئا. Then he should do 2 more rak'ahs and recite in nothing after the Fatiha in those 2 rak'ahs. فإذا جلس للتشهد الأخير تورك فنصب رجله اليمنى وفرش اليسرى وأخرجهما عن يمينه. And when he sits down for the last tashahhud, that's the second of 2 tashahhuds, then he will sit down like this. Tawarraka means the warik. He will sit on the warik of al-yusra. He will not sit on the foot. He will sit on the thigh of the left leg or the left lower extremity. Sit on the thigh, not the foot. This is iftirash. But then the last one, he will sit like this. Okay? In case, the beautiful drawing of Salah ad-Din here is not, good enough for you. But it is good. So, is it okay. Women sit like this in the madhab. In the madhab, women sit like this all the time. without needing to do this. They just push the right and left legs out. We talked about, that there is no difference between men and women in the madhab, except in women, all the stretching out of the body and the separation of limbs from the trunk and so on is prescribed for men and not prescribed for women, according to the madhab. There is nothing directly, authentically traceable to the Prophet ﷺ about this, although there is a hadith, but it's not authentic or authentically traceable. But that is the position that not only this madhab, but all the madhab chose for women to bring the limbs together and to sit, push the left and right legs on one side, which is the right side. Although Abdullah ibn Umar used to prescribe for the women of his household to sit cross-legged, mutarabbi'at. But in the madhab, it is basically to sit like this with left and right legs on one side. He should only make tawarruk, which is this, jalsa. He should only make tawarruk in a prayer that has 2 tashahhuds. He does so in the second of them. وَلَا يَتَوَرَّكْ إِلَّا فِي صَلَاةٍ فِيهَا تَشَهُّدَانِ فِي الْأَخِيرِ مِنْهُمَا. Now, then he finished the prayer. He says, فَإِذَا سَلَّمَ اسْتَغْفَرَ ثَلَاثًا وَقَالَ اللَّهُمَّ أَنْتَ السَّلَامُ وَمِنْكَ السَّلَامُ تَبَارَكْتَ يَا ذَا الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. When he makes taslim, he should say astaghfirullah 3 times, reported by Thawban. And, O Allah, you are the one, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam tabarakta dhal jalali wal ikram. O Allah, you're the one above all deficiencies, or giver of peace. Anta salam, you are above all deficiencies, or giver of peace, or both. And you are above all deficiencies, giver of peace, and from you comes peace. Blessed are you, O Lord of majesty and generosity. And then he will certainly continue with azkar ma ba'da salah, the azkar after the prayer. Sorry, I had to be quick. There's a brother in the back. He had a question.
I had a question about maybe if there's a difference between nafil and farz salah.
Most of this applies to the fard salah, but this applies all to the fard salah. In the nafil salah, some of the scholars have been more lenient, most of them have not. Yes?
When you say tarbiyah, can you be more specific in terms of cross-legs, because in Arabic it's kind of confusing?
Okay, so I told you, some people don't understand cross-legged and tarbiyah. It is the way you sit in the masjid all the time. And nowadays everybody sits and reclines. But here, stand. Tarbiyah. Is this called cross-legged in English? Okay. I thought it is, but because cross-legged in English also could be when you're sitting down and you do this, right? That could be cross-legged also. Yeah. Yes. And I'm just gonna, because we usually let people leave, people who have arrangements. Let's give them 5 minutes to leave, and then I'm here for questions and answers. You're gonna stay. Just give them 5 minutes to leave, and then.